I've been joined by Councilmember Marquis Harris Dawson and Councilmember Englander. This is the Planning, Land Use and Management Committee. We'll call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to go over the multiple agenda item comment cards. There are none, so we will file that. On the consent calendar, we have items number 5, which we will approve without objection. Item number 8, we will continue to June 13th. Item number 9, continue to May 23rd. Item number 13, we will deny the appeal in as much as it has been withdrawn. 13 and 14. I said 13?
You said 13. I believe it's 14, Councilman, that was withdrawn.
13 was withdrawn as well, correct?
Okay.
So 13 and 14
Okay.
can be denied and appealed on consent in as much as they both have been withdrawn, 13 and 14. So ordered without objection. So that brings us back to item number 1. Report from Director of Planning, Vince Bertoni.
Thank you, Chair Weezer, members of the committee. Just real brief. We've started the process to create a new list of qualified consultants to prepare environmental documentation. We're actually creating 2 lists. One list will be for when the city hires a consultant to do things such as environmental impact reports or negative declarations, for city-initiated policy amendments such as community plans, amendments to zoning, and so forth. We're also creating a separate list of qualified consultants when private developers need to hire someone to prepare either any kind of secret documentation such as an environmental impact report or a mitigated negative declaration. So we've been circulating those. We're doing a request for qualifications for those, and we've circulated that as many places as we could, have the widest distribution as possible. We also forwarded it to the council offices just to, in case you know of any qualified consultants that we should consider for the list, and so we're hoping to get a strong bench of consultants for both city work as well as for developer-initiated reports. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Great, thank you, Mr. Bartoni. I think Mr. Price has often raised the issue in this committee about making sure we have a diverse panel. Obviously, we have our city policies with respect to having a diverse panel, whatever is allowed by law, but we could obviously take those items into consideration. So, thank you. And how is the remaining part of some of those reforms with respect to updating the community plans? Any updates on that?
I just have Mr. Kevin Keller, who's our Deputy Director for Policies here.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Kevin Keller, City Planning. The question was, where are we on our community plan program?
Yes.
The department has been working closely with the council and the mayor on the upcoming year's budget. We do have those positions, and we thank the council for their support for the budget. We also will be working closely with the city attorney on the funding mechanism, which is the general plan maintenance fee that was endorsed by the council. We expect to have that out in front of the council in about a month. And we have hired our first freshman class of new planning staff to work on the community plans launching in our Valley unit. We have moved about 4 planners out to the Valley, starting at the Valley Policy Unit, and we've begun work on the Southwest Valley community plans, doing some initial studies. Also doing some outreach to the neighborhood councils in that area, as well as citywide Plan Check Neighborhood Council to bring people up to speed on the plan and proposals. So we look forward to working closely with the community on these community plans and keeping the Plum Committee updated regularly.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other questions for our planning director or staff? Okay, seeing none, we will receive and file item number 1. For the record, we've been joined by Councilmember Price. Item number 2, Mr. Mejia, can you read that into the record, please?
Sure, Councilman. Item 2 is a communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of Mr. Eric Bates to the South LA APC.
Welcome. Is Mr. Bates here? Welcome, Mr. Bates. If you could just come up here, and first we want to thank you for agreeing to serve on the Area Planning Commission. Any thoughts you might want to share with the committee as your reappointment is made, and/or concerns?
Good afternoon, first of all, to the committee. I just would like to say thank you for the opportunity to serve again. It's been a great term serving with the South Los Angeles Area Planning Committee. We've been able to approve a number of projects that are going to provide some great resources for the citizens of South Los Angeles. So I am proud to have served previously, and I look forward to continuing those same projects on the next term.
Great. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for Mr. Bates?
Just,
Yes, Mr. Price.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to thank Mr. Bates for his service. You know, you've stepped up to the plate, and it's not easy sometimes giving up your time, effort, and energies, but we appreciate your service to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bates, and thank you for your willingness to serve and your commitment and contributing to the public service in the city. And we've moved to approve the reappointment of Mr. Bates to the South Los Angeles Area Planning Commission. Any objections? Seeing none. Second, Mr. Price. Seeing none, so ordered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, Mr. Mejia.
Item 3, Councilman, is a communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of Helen Lung to the East LA APC.
Ms. Lung here. Welcome. Thank you for your service. This is also a reappointment, and this is to the East Area Planning Commission. You have a history of not only working in other commissions, but also working in urban redevelopment. So thank you for your service. And any thoughts on your service on the East Area Planning Commission and/or concerns with our development processes?
Thank you, council members. It's my honor to be here again. I was appointed just a couple months ago and have really enjoyed my time bringing my experience as someone who has worked in the city, understand planning, but also being in the community and knowing that it's important to make sure that our community plans correlate with development and making sure that happens in a way that is responsible to the rules, but also thinking about how LA can grow in a way that is inclusive and reflective of where we all want to be. So as someone who's a lifelong Northeast LA resident and a policy and planning wonk, it's my honor to continue my service, and I thank you all for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Lungan. Any questions or comments? No. Seeing none, so we will move to approve the reappointment of Ms. Lung to the East Los Angeles Area Planning Commission. Without objection, so ordered. Thank you. We look forward to working with you. Okay, so item number 10, you could call that to order, please.
Item 10, Councilman, this is...
I'm sorry, let's do, we have 2 items, actually 3 that won't take much time. Items 11 and 12, we have the appellant rep here. We could take 11 and 12, please. We could take those together.
11 and 12, Councilman, are interrelated. Same appellant, Jeffrey Franklin. On item 11, the appeal is here before a 245 motion relative to the building permits and the issuance. And item 12 is an appeal on the CEQA.
Okay. We have 1 card on this item. Appellant Rep. Tim McCosker. Welcome.
Thank you. Chairman and members, Tim McCosker, Glazer Weil, for the appellant, Jeffrey Franklin. I'm on both 11 and 12. Fortunately, the parties have been able to get together and work out what looks like a resolution of all of the outstanding issues on this property. We appreciate that very much. We have a preliminary agreement that we are working the next couple of days on to put it into a final settlement agreement. And we would ask you today to conduct the hearing, the 1 card that you have, close the public hearing, and then you could recommend this to the city council. You could pass this to city council without recommendation. both on the appeal, the CEQA appeal, and on the 245. And we appreciate that very much. We appreciate the property owner coming to the table. We appreciate the support from the community and particularly from the council office in bringing the parties together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCosker. And yes, we were advised by Council District 5 that an agreement has been reached and that it will take a few days to get that in writing, but that for now we could move this so that we won't lose any time. So,
Excuse me, Terry Kaufman, Macias City Attorney's Office. I just want to remind the committee that the Charter Section 245 is under a timeline. So once the days pass, it looks like it expires on May 19th. That's it. You lose your opportunity to act on that.
and that's the reason why we want to move it forward. Yes. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So items 11 and 12, we will move to council without recommendation, having not have all the items before us, but with an interest in meeting some deadlines. So we'll move those forward without recommendation, 11 and 12. No objections, so ordered. Item number 7, I believe, also, well, that does not have any cards, but we've been informed by Council District 6, they're interested in hearing this in full council. We will move that without recommendation as well. Some issues still need to be discussed, but those an interest in hearing that in full council. Item number 7, if you could read that into the record, please.
Sure. Item 7, Councilman, is a report from the Planning Commission. It's the disapproval of a general plan amendment relative to the construction of a senior project with 288 age-restricted units in CD6.
Okay, we'll move that without recommendation to full council. Any objection? Seeing none, so ordered. And I believe that leaves us with items 10, 4, and 6, any public comments. So we could start with item number 10, please.
Councilman, on item 11 and 12, did you have a card? I think I heard you say that you had a card.
We did. That was Mr. McCosker. Okay.
So item 10, this is an appeal, a CEQA appeal filed by Pedro and Marlene Rosado from El Mercado, and this has to do with a mixed-use project with 49 apartment units in CD14.
Okay, staff here on this item, if you could briefly present us what the issues are in this matter.
Good afternoon, council members. Greg Shoup, representing the Planning Department. I'm ready to present. You have just delivered 10, 15 minutes ago a very lengthy document by the appellant's attorney. I don't even have a copy of that and have not read that or reviewed that, so I'm not at this point prepared to comment on that. But I'm ready to present my presentation.
Okay, maybe if you could just give us a general overview of what's before us, and then we'll take public comment.
It's an appeal of a mitigated negative declaration, or M&D, adopted as part of a Director of Planning approval of a density bonus incentive case. The development is construction of a mixed-use building containing 10,000 square feet of commercial, office space, or retail, or community center, and 49 dwelling units. The 48 units will be reserved for affordable tenants, with a portion of it going to veterans. CEQA, one of the important factors of CEQA is to look at the direct and indirect impacts of any potential development on the environment. The environmental assessment form was reviewed and conducted by a third-party consultant. The consultant then submits it into planning. Planning reviews it, makes comments, makes corrections. We sign it, we publish it, and then there is a comment period with that. We only received 2 comments, one from the school district and one from a neighbor, and the applicant's consultant responded to those comments. The project proposed, in order for the applicant or the appellant to submit in and be successful in challenging CEQA, they have to make what's called a fair argument. And as part of that fair argument, they have to submit substantial evidence that the project may result in significant impacts that we have not either identified or that need to be mitigated. And these significant, substantial evidence has to be in the form of facts, reports from consultants, like if you're challenging the traffic analysis, you have to have a competing traffic analysis prepared by an expert. Same with the grading, same with noise, same with everything else. Initially, the appellant just submitted 10 justifications for the inadequacy of the MND. Unfortunately, we were at this time, I can respond to those, but they're not lengthy. One, for example, is the project results in significant cumulative impacts, but it's not explained. I believe the document you have that was just presented by the attorney may explain that, but again, I can, at this point, respond to that. The project brings too much density to an already dense area. Again, how? The project is proposing 49 dwelling units. The combination R3 and C2 zone, both under the community plan and the density of the zoning, will allow 106 units. Again, it's not explained how 49 units would drastically impact when we plan for 106 units to be eventually built there. So at this point, I'm finished with my presentation. I'm ready for any questions. Again, I can't respond in depth because I don't have the document in front of me from the attorney.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We will now turn to public comment, and first is the appellant rep. We have two cards for the appellant rep. One is Daniel Wright, and the other is Julian Warner. Are you here? So who is the appellant of record? Is it Julian or Daniel Wright?
Well,
Okay. So, and then who will take the 5 minutes? We allocate 5 minutes for the appellant and 5 minutes for the applicant. The other person can have 1 minute,
So,
or a combination thereof.
yeah, I'll do the 5 minutes, and then Mr. Warner will follow up as a public
Okay.
commenter.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome.
So Daniel Wright of the Silverstein Law Firm on behalf of El Mercado, appellant in this case. Council members, in this particular case, there are three overarching themes that are problematic with respect to this proposal. The first one has to do with actually eminent domain law, because this particular parcel upon which the project is proposed was acquired by Metro as a proposed site to be used in connection with the Gold Line development. But ultimately, it's my understanding that the project site was not used by Metro, and there is an obligation under the eminent domain law to make the property available for right of first refusal for repurchase from the persons to whom from whom it was acquired, and that has not occurred here. So therefore, this entire proceeding is premature because it is not. It's premised on this flaw with regard to the legal status of the property and the rights of people to exercise their rights to reacquire the property. That being said, moving on to the next step is a fundamental issue that's been brought to the city's attention, which is the failure of the city to refer the site plan review for review under 1605G, which requires that the environmental review be done by the appropriate redevelopment agency. The review here has been performed by the city, which is inconsistent with the statute, which mandates that the city designate as the lead agency the appropriate redevelopment area. And because that has not occurred, the entire proceeding should be set aside and sent over to the only agency that has appropriate land use authority in this matter under your own municipal code, and that's the CRALA. Then there's the issue with regard to the adequacy of the mitigated negative declaration. In this particular case, the data shows that this site has an abandoned 1949 oil well. And the M&D has not gone into sufficient detail with regard to, or study as to what is the status of that well, or whether or not excavation of this site would cause problems in association with that. And that's particularly sensitive given the fact of the history of the El Mercado being a site which is used extensively by many people in the community and lots of families with their children. And related to that, there's the hazardous analysis that's also been done with respect to the history of the site as of some of its former uses, which may have involved the dumping of hazardous materials on the site. There was actually a recommendation for a further hazardous review, and the MND proposes to not do that, to delay the review of that. So these are significant problems with respect to a number of important public health and safety aspects to adjoining land uses represented by our client. And to make clear on that, on the environmental issues, a Phase 2 environmental site assessment was recommended, and that has not been done. Also, with respect to this particular project, there's a fair argument with regard to impact on land use and planning. In the Boyle Heights Community Plan, the El Mercado is actually specifically called out because of its value to the community as an important resource, and that its viability should be maintained and provided for because of its importance to the community. That has not been respected or dealt with in this particular case, in that this particular proposal is inconsistent with that. For all of those reasons and for the details based in our letter submitted today, we would ask that this project our appeal be granted and be sent back for appropriate review in light of these issues, or that the matter be continued for further study. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, 1 minute.
My name is Julian Warner. Thank you for the opportunity to address you. I was Pedro Rosado attorney for some 40 years, and I'm intimately familiar with El Mercado. That's the person who was responsible for running it from about 1973 through his death in December of 2015. It's been represented to me that the Boyle Heights community is behind this development of this apartment building and a modest amount of commercial space. And I think that's not true of the homeowners in the immediate radius of the El Mercado. They are very much against this for the various reasons that they'll come here and speak to. And I don't think there's substantial evidence supporting the fact that the MND was sufficient. And I think that this matter has to be looked at a lot more carefully. And if not denied in its entirety, at least studied further. So thank you for your time. And my time is about up, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll turn to the applicants. Dora Gallo as the applicant and Craig Lawson, the applicant rep. How will you guys split up your time, or?
I think this is Craig Lawson for the record. I'll start. Dora's going to speak, and then we have a third speaker. We have a total of 5 minutes?
Total of 5 minutes, yes.
Okay. Tell me when you want to start.
Okay. Ready. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, I'm Craig Lawson, a land use consultant here on behalf of a community of friends, a nonprofit organization that is attempting and intends to build a 49-unit affordable housing project on this site at First and Lorena in Boyle Heights. There's a lot of issues that we have submitted for the record. There's a letter that I submitted about a week ago, which you should have seen. And we understand there's been a letter submitted today by the appellants, which we have not seen. But I should say that the issue before you is a CEQA appeal. The project itself was approved under a density bonus case. That case was not appealed. The mitigated negative declaration, which is the environmental
document was published by the city. There were no comments from the appellants on that document. They waited till the last minute to submit a CEQA appeal. In fact, we believe it was after the required time period and therefore should not have been accepted. But we've been waiting for a year to get to this hearing. If you decide that you want to take this under advisement because of the letter that was submitted by the appellants, we ask that you make it a very short period of time, such as 1 or 2 weeks, because we do have a deadline on this project. And just for the record, I want to say that the appellants have failed to exhaust their administrative remedies. They did not appeal to this planning commission. The appeal was not filed within the proper time period. And just to remind you, as you know, Councilman, we are the measure HHH authorized funding for affordable housing. This is an opportunity to provide a project, to approve a project that will provide that affordable housing. We hope that you will deny the CEQA appeal and allow this project to move forward. Dora Gallo is the head of a community of friends. She's going to speak for a minute.
Okay, can you hold the time, please? Hold the time on that. And I have a question for you. So you mentioned there's a upcoming deadline. What is that?
The MTA has given Community of Friends a certain period of time in order to get city approval for this project because it is on MTA land.
It's not so much that the MTA has given you time to get city approval, but just to complete your process.
Correct.
But you've had numerous extensions at the MTA. What's different from getting another extension this time?
We're requesting another extension, and Dora, you may want to answer this. Yeah. But I'm saying right now this ends in June, and that's coming up very quickly. Yeah.
So part of the narrative that I've read about some recent articles on this is that the city has been holding this up. But in fact, since your client has been looking at this since March of 2013, you've gone back several times asking for extensions for several reasons. The city has only had it under its purview for a year. And given how many cases we have come through this committee, it takes sometimes that long to hear these things at this site, at this committee. So what's different this time from the other times that you've asked for extensions from Metro? Why can't you go back and ask for another extension as you have in the past?
She's going to address that.
Okay.
We have made the request, but there's no assurances, and we won't know until next month.
Okay. But you have made several in the past, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You have made several extension requests since 2013 to Metro.
For various reasons, yes.
For various reasons. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you. So go ahead.
Sure.
Start the time again, please.
Thank you. So my name is Dora Gallo, and I'm the CEO for Community of Friends. We are a nonprofit organization that was established 29 years ago to develop, own, and operate what's now known as permanent supportive housing. When we started this work, there was no name for it. Our mission then, as it is now, is to end homelessness for people who have a mental illness through the development of affordable homes connected with on-site services. As a pioneer in this type of housing, we now operate over 40 such buildings throughout the city and county of Los Angeles and into Orange County, housing over 1,500 adults and 600 kids. We have approximately 30 buildings in the city of Los Angeles, with buildings in 10 of 15 city council districts, in fact, in each of the council districts that you represent on this committee. We are an organization that works hard to reach community consensus on our developments, whether it is in Silver Lake, Hollywood, South Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley, or Boyle Heights. And given the short time we have today, I just want to say that I'm available to answer any questions you have and to assure you that we do have some support. And in fact, there's a number of people here in the audience today. I'm not sure whether they're going to all be allowed to speak, but if I can ask them to stand, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Shashi Hanuman. I'm an attorney with Public Counsel. Public Counsel urges you to deny this appeal because it is untimely and it is a pretext for animus against persons with disabilities. First, as detailed by Craig Lawson, the appeal should have been rejected immediately on procedural grounds. Instead, it has been pending for over a year. Second, the delay alone is cause for great concern under state laws that prohibit discrimination in land use decisions, including the State Housing Accountability Act and Government Code 65008. Third, appellant Tony Rosado went on record early on that his concern is about people with mental illness, not CEQA. These are exactly the kinds of sentiments that state and federal fair housing laws are designed to protect against. For all these reasons, we believe that any action in favor of this appeal would violate federal and state fair housing laws, Government Code 65008, and the Housing Accountability Act. We urge you to consider these legal issues carefully as you consider this appeal.
Great, thank you. Well, as the chair of this committee, let me assure you that since this project has been under the purview of the city for a year, it has nothing to do with the type of housing that's being proposed. As with many projects that go through the process, oftentimes it takes a while for these things to get scheduled for one reason or another, but this has nothing to do with the type of housing that's been proposed. We'll go through the public comment cards. We have about 15 here. Each person has 1 minute. Genevieve Garcia, Mario Barragan, Steve Voss,
Hello, my name is Genevieve, and I live down the street from First and Chicago by Las Palomas Apartments that is owned by a community of friends. I have become friends with some of the residents who live there, and they share with me some of their stories. A community of friends does not repair to units until it's brought up many times to the property manager or case managers. Recently, during the rainy, cold seasons, residents did not have hot running water for days until it was finally repaired. Some residents have drug addictions or other illnesses and bring in guests with similar addictions and scare some of the other residents who live there. There are always fights happening inside the apartments and outside on the park. There are no proper services or programs available for them on site. When I learned that a community of friends wants to build something similar on First and Lorena, I become concerned for families who live near there.
Finish your sentence, please.
Every week I see LAPD response to that property at least 2 times. A community of friends was responsible to its tenants by making repairs to units and providing their residents with the necessary services to deal with their illnesses or addictions, and would not oppose this project.
Great. Thank you. Mario Barragan.
Good evening, Councilman, Chair Weezar. My name is Mario Barragan. I'm with IBEW Local 11, representing about 12,000 members in Los Angeles County. We stand in support of this project. We not only stand in support of this project for the local jobs that it would create, but also because this is responsible development. I was born and raised in Boyle Heights, only 1 mile away from this proposed site, so I know the area very well. We need these types of development. We need more development and ever more responsible development in this part of the city that is much needed. Adequate environmental impact reports has been met. Let's encourage more development in my neighborhood. It's time to move on with this project. Let it move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Voss, Yolita Dines, and Ron Miller.
Good afternoon, members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be heard. My name is Steve Voss. I'm president of International Institute. We've been at the corner of 4th and Boyle for over 100 years. I myself have been with the agency close to 25. I'm arguing in favor of the project going forward and denial of the appeal because a community of friends has extended itself to a very great extent to accommodate all of the community concerns that have been voiced in the past, including those that have been raised in opposition to its position. The neighborhood council voted 15-1 to support the work. They conducted many meetings, a number of which I attended, and we spoke in favor of the development. And therefore, I urge you to deny the appeal and allow the project to go forward. Thank you very much.
Yolita Dines, Ron Miller, Imelda Alvarez, and Bertha Padilla.
Good afternoon. My name is Yolita Dines, and I'm here with Creed LA speaking in support of this project. The City of Los Angeles is in a housing crisis. We simply need more residential construction to keep up with our increasing population. The current project site is unused land with no value to the community. If built, this project will house almost 50 families. The community benefits this project would bring are invaluable, including affordable housing and creating good local jobs and lasting sustainable careers. This is exactly the kind of project that is needed for Los Angeles. Thank you.
Ron Miller.
Good afternoon, Councilman. Ron Miller, Executive Secretary of the LA Orange County Building Trades. I represent 100,000 people in Orange County and LA, many thousands that live right around the Boyle Heights area. We have a lot of projects in Boyle Heights, projects that are going to be good for the community. The 6th Street Bridge, not to mention other ones that are coming up. This project is one of them. It could bring big benefit to the community. It's a small project, but it brings big benefit. The electoral voters in the last 2 elections have spoke about Triple J for affordable housing, Triple H for homeless housing, and Measure H in the county to take care of supportive services for the homelessness. This project, under a project labor agreement with the building trades, is going to meet all those requirements, put hundreds of people to work, create good benefits for the local community, and so I urge you to deny the appeal and support the project, and let's move it along. Thank you.
Melda Alvarez, Bertha Padilla, Guillermina Gonzalez.
She's going to need interpretation. So it's 2 minutes.
Hola, mi nombre es Imelda Álvarez
Hi, my name is Imelda Alvarez.
y soy miembro de la organización ILAC.
I'm a member of ELAC.
Quería dar las gracias por escuchar a la comunidad de Boyle Heights este día.
Thank you for listening to the Boyle Heights community today.
También dar las gracias al concejal José Huizar
give
por
thanks.
apoyar los proyectos de vivienda asequible.
And to thank Councilmember Wisad for always supporting affordable housing
En Boyle Heights.
in Boyle Heights.
Nosotros estamos aquí hoy para apoyar el proyecto de la Primera y Lorena.
So we're here to support the development on First and Lorena.
El desarrollador tenía posibilidad de desarrollar más de 100 viviendas, pero por consideración al lugar solo construirá 49 unidades.
So we're aware that the developer had the opportunity to develop over 100 units, and in consideration to the area, only built 49 units.
Les pedimos por favor negar la apelación y seguir apoyando el proyecto.
So we urge you to deny the appeal and to continue forward with the development.
También pienso que nosotros como residentes que necesitamos la vivienda asequible somos los que usamos el metro y tenemos mucha, ¿cómo se dice? Necesidad y posibilidad de unir esa vivienda con el proyecto de metro.
So we as residents of Boyle Heights who are in need of affordable housing could really make the connection of the metro line and the housing that's being proposed to be built.
Y aliviaría la necesidad de vivienda asequible. Gracias.
And it would relieve us for the need for affordable housing.
Thank you. Gracias. Bertha Padilla.
Buenas tardes, señor Huizar.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wisar.
Mi nombre es Berta Parrilla.
My name is Berta Parrilla.
Vengo de ILAC,
I'm here from ELAC,
apoyando la vivienda económica en el lote de la Primera y la Indiana,
here to support the affordable housing for First and
para
Lorena,
que rechacen la apelación que dice no construir vivienda económica.
to reject the appeal to not build affordable housing on First and Lorena.
Yo soy inquilina de vivienda económica de
I
la
am-
Primera y Soto,
I am a tenant of affordable housing on First and Soto,
y sé que los residentes de vivienda económica no son una amenaza
and I know that the tenants of affordable housing are not a threat.
que construyan más vivienda económica para los más necesitados. No hay que dejar que el mercadito los niegue un apoyo a los pobres.
So we urge you to build more affordable housing for the most needed, and let's not let Mercadito deny that opportunity for poor people.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias. Guillermina González, Roberto Garcia Ceballos.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Guillermina González, soy miembro activa de la organización ILAC. Vengo yo a apoyar el proyecto de Lorena Plaza.
So, good afternoon. My name is Guillermina Gonzalez. I'm an active member of ELAC, and I'm here to support the Lorena Plaza development.
Y pido que rechacen la apelación que puso al mercadito, cuando el mercadito depende de nuestra comunidad. Así como nosotros somos clientes de ellos, nosotros también nos oponemos a su apelación.
So we tell you to reject the appeal of the Mercadito because El Mercadito survives of us consuming there. And, okay.
Y tenemos una gran necesidad en nuestra comunidad de vivienda accesible.
And we have an urgent need for affordable housing in our community.
Si el mercadito sigue con la apelación, sabrán quién es la comunidad de Boyle Heights para hacerle sentir nuestra energía.
And if Mercadito continues to push this not having affordable housing, they are really going to feel what the community is about.
Y yo confío en el comité para seguir adelante con la construcción de este gran proyecto.
And we trust in y'all for this development to move forward.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias. Roberto, Carmen Calderón, Tony Zapata, Filimon Plata.
Hello, my name is Roberto Garcia Ceballos. I'm a community organizer for the East LA Community Corporation, and I'm also a resident of Boyle Heights. And as an organizer, we've worked in partnership with ACOF. And through this partnership, ACOF has been a responsible developer in terms of really communicating with the community, meeting with our members regularly, and we were there in support at the neighborhood council where a lot of community members came out in support of this development. So we urge y'all to deny this appeal and to support affordable housing in Boyle Heights. Thank you.
Thank you. Carmina Calderon, Tony Zapata, Filimon Plata.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Carmina Calderon, and I'm also an organizer at ELAC. I'm here in support of the Lorena Plaza development. Housing is a human right, especially for those more marginalized folks that are in great need of affordable housing. ACOF has already gotten the support from the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council and Metro. Please deny the appeal and allow Lorena Terres to continue.
Tony Zapata.
Good afternoon, Councilman and council members. My name is Tony Zapata. Today I am here as a veteran of from Boyle Heights in support of veterans housing for homeless vets, a word that should not go together, homeless vets. To me, a homeless veteran living under a bridge or tent by the freeway is wrong. These men and women who put on the uniform to defend this country deserve much better. To have a roof over their heads, a place with an address that they can call home, these young men and women put their lives on the line for our country, and to be living like this is unacceptable. I strongly urge you, Councilman Weezer and fellow members, to do anything in your power to get these wonderful Americans off the street. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Filimon Plata. Felipe Cortez, Juan Rivera. ¿Va a necesitar alguien que le interprete?
Sí. Buenas tardes.
Do we have an interpreter here? Can we get one? How long would it take? Un momento, por favor. Okay. Mr. Mejia,
Sure.
can you interpret?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Si dice algo, unas dos cosas, y luego aquí le va a transular este joven.
Sí, buenas
y
tardes a
tiene
todos.
2 minutos.
Sí, antes que nada quiero expresar mi preocupación por el nuevo proyecto que tienen en mente.
First of all, I would like to express my concerns regarding the project.
porque he estado radicando por los últimos 12 años en Boyle Heights y he mirado cómo se ha incrementado todo el problema de estacionamiento.
In the past 12 years, I've seen how the parking situation has developed in Boyle Heights.
Con la construcción del metro también he mirado todo que ha crecido ese problema, incluso en lo personal.
And with the construction of Metro, I have seen how the parking situation has gotten worse.
Antes tenía un negocio entre la Tercera y la Gates y cuando yo miré ese proyecto me creó mucha ilusión porque creí que iba a crecer mi negocio, pero al final de cuentas lo vine cerrando.
I saw a project on 3rd and Bates. There was a commercial project, and I was very excited about the project. And then my opinion changed.
De ahí esperé un tiempo hasta que encontré un lugar aquí en el Mercadito y ahí estoy establecido ya por 7 años, donde ahí he logrado mantener a mi familia.
And I have been at El Mercadito for the past 7 years.
Ir creciendo poco a poco. Más bien me gustaría que fuera un proyecto para que salgan beneficiados toda la comunidad, no solo específicamente a ciertas personas.
And I would like a project that benefits the entire community, not just a segment of the community.
Como más que nada que salgan beneficiados los niños, los jóvenes, que tengan un centro de recreación ya después de escuela para que toda la comunidad se venga beneficiando de todo eso.
I would like a project that benefits youth and children, and a project that provides recreational uses for them.
Es todo. Gracias.
That's it. Thank you.
Gracias. Felipe Cortés. Juan Rivera.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Mi propósito de esta tarde estar aquí es precisamente para demostrar mi descontento.
First of all, I would like to speak and express my disappointment.
Represento a un grupo de vecinos de La Lorena, donde estamos informados de este proyecto que tienen y creo que no es el adecuado para el lugar, porque
I represent neighbors along Lorena, and I don't think this is the right project for the site.
tenemos niños, tenemos familias, tenemos muchos vecinos que también necesitan de espacios, de lugares de esparcimiento, de lugares de recreo, de lugares.
We need recreational programs for children, since they are part of the community as well.
Y dada la ubicación del lugar, creo que es lo necesario para hacer en ese lugar. No necesitamos más urbanización, sabemos muy bien y apoyamos todas las necesidades sociales que hay.
Given the location, I think this is the best use, recreational uses for the community.
Pero creo que sería una equivocación poner más urbanización dentro de esa área, dado que necesitamos espacios para los niños, para los adultos. Un parque podría ser bueno, un lugar donde pudieran acudir los niños después de escuela a hacer sus tareas.
I think, again, that the best use would be recreational uses. We don't need more density. That way, children and other people in the community can benefit from the recreational uses.
Nosotros, si utilizamos el sentido común para beneficiar a la familia, creo que sería el proyecto adecuado. No necesitamos más urbanización en esa área, estamos demasiado saturados de ello. Además, hay mucho tráfico, hay mucho movimiento y necesitamos lugares de desahogo social.
There's too much traffic, too much density, and we need open space in the community.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Juan Rivera. Alberta Meneses. Priscilla Reséndez.
Hola, buenas tardes. Me llamo Juan Rivera. Estoy
Hello, my name is Juan
preocupado
Rivera.
por el proyecto que están proyectando. Mi negocio está al lado del proyecto y estoy preocupado porque pues yo con mucho esfuerzo he sacado a mi familia adelante por medio de mi negocio personal y yo pienso que mis clientes que son familias, niños, estarán pudieran estar en riesgo por el tipo de vivienda. El segundo problema que veo es el estacionamiento. El parking es muy reducido para nuestros negocios y pienso que será un grave problema para todos.
I have a business next to the project site, and I am concerned about its proximity and its impact on children.
Sí, pues es todo. Gracias.
That's it.
Gracias. Alberta Meneses, Priscilla Resendez, and Rosario Garcia.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Me llamo Alberta Meneses.
My name is
y vivo
Alberta
en el este de
Meneses,
Los Ángeles.
and I live in East LA.
Estoy preocupada por el proyecto que están proponiendo
I am concerned about the proposed project
porque alrededor vivimos nosotros como comunidad, alrededor de los niños, parques. Necesitamos, es lo que necesitamos, una creación para el parque, para que los niños se diviertan
We need open
después de
space
escuela,
we need open space for children and after school
para que tengan
projects.
en qué entretenerse los jóvenes y no anden en la calle.
And they need programs in these open space venues so that they're not out in the street.
Y un programa así está en riesgo por los niños pequeños que tenemos alrededor. Es por eso es que nosotros nos oponemos a ese proyecto.
We are opposed to the project because of its impact on children and the close proximity.
Okay, gracias.
Gracias, thank you.
Gracias. Priscilla Resendez, Rosario Garcia.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Priscila Reséndiz y vivo en el este de Los Ángeles.
Good afternoon, my name is Priscilla Mesendez and I live in East LA.
Estoy frustrada porque el desarrollo del MTA han estado planeando este proyecto por más de 10 años desde el 2006 y a los miembros de la comunidad y a los vecinos nunca nos avisaron.
I am concerned because this project has been in the works for 9-10 years and there has been little outreach to community members.
Ya que el verdadero dueño del terreno somos los que pagamos los impuestos.
The real owners of the site are those that pay the property, that pay taxes rather.
Y necesitamos que en esa área no pongan el recreación que quieren para gente de mente, porque en el mercado hay familia que tiene niños y tenemos que tener cuidado con ellos. Y si entra alguien con peligro o algo que quiera hacer algo, pues tenemos familia y de ahí mantenemos a nuestros niños.
In the mercado there are children and we need to be aware regarding its impact on children.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias. Rosario Garcia, Nancy Rojas, Mike Kufshak. Yeah, está bien, puede pasar. Or you could start.
Hello, my name is Rosario Garcia.
Can you move the microphone down so we can hear you? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rosario Garcia. As an owner of a business in el mercado, I am against the project because el mercado is a family place. We have been in business for many years and our families depend on us. We have raised our children with our business. All of our clients are families, and with this project, our business will go down. This is why I am against the project.
Thank you. Nancy Rojas, Mike Rafchak.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Nancy.
My name is Nancy.
Yo también estoy como en desacuerdo, ¿verdad?, con el proyecto
I'm also against the project.
que están presentando. Tenemos muchas familias. Lo que realmente necesita la comunidad de ahí, de La Lorena, es como algo recreativo para los jóvenes,
There
¿verdad?
are many families in the area and what they need is open space and recreational programs.
Necesitamos que los jóvenes estén ocupados,
We
que
need-
haya algo más para los jóvenes, para la comunidad, las familias, ¿verdad?
We need programs for youth and family members.
El mercadito de Los Ángeles es un lugar familiar.
El
Siempre está
mercadito-
lleno de familias.
El Mercadito is a family venue and it's always full of family members.
Tenemos mucho tiempo trabajando ahí y sí es preocupante, ¿verdad?, lo que están pretendiendo hacer.
We have been there many years and it's very concerning, the proposed project.
Todo, gracias.
Thank you very
Yes. Mike, Eddie Tamayo, Nadine Diaz.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Kufjack. I'm the Director of Veterans Affairs for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 11. Aside from my primary responsibilities, I want to talk about the other hat that I wear with regards to community outreach and, of course, our veteran population here within Los Angeles County. Moreover, more importantly, I sit on the Antelope Valley Veterans Employment Committee. I participate very strongly with Mayor Garcetti throughout Los Angeles. His 10,000 Strong programs, fair chance hiring events, and so forth. But my point merely here is merely this. In addition to all the other things that I do, I spend a lot of time in Boyle Heights, specifically at the Hollenbeck Youth Center, and we're also partnered with the Hollenbeck Police Business Council down there. I support a trifecta of events down there every year. The Thanksgiving turkey giveaway, of course, the Christmas tree lighting, so that we have a beacon in the community down there, and then finally, the toy giveaway on Christmas Day for our families. And I'm in touch with a lot of those families, and I see the much-needed affordable housing they need within the Hollenbeck Youth Center area there in Boyle Heights off of 1st Street. This project would absolutely benefit the families there for affordable housing. So I'm asking to repeal and moving forward with the project.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Eddie Tamayo, Nadine Diaz.
Hello, my name is Eddie Tamayo, and I'm against the project. I feel that you should respect our appeal and to eliminate it, and I can prove that these people that call themselves the friends of the community or whatever, to this day, I walk around the neighborhood, go to someone's house randomly, I don't even know these people, and I ask them, do you know what's going on in the corner? Has anyone approached you? Have you ever heard of community or friends? And they say no. I can prove this. I can prove it right now. If you want to just take an hour walk, we'll walk around the neighborhood within a block or two of First and Lorena, and I'm sure you're going to see a lot more people that have no idea, have never been approached by a community of friends. I met the young lady over a year ago at Salesian High School. To this day, she has not introduced me to anyone that they have spoken to and informed. People in my own building, my mother has a jewelry store in the Mercado, have not been approached by a community of friends.
Okay. Thank you.
And
time is up. Thank you.
We should make a cultural center there, sir.
Okay. Nadine Diaz.
Good afternoon. My name is Nadine Diaz. I'm a 3rd and 4th generation stakeholder and property owner, approximately a block away from First and Lorena. And I am a MSW social work adjunct professor at USC. I've been at USC since '95, also a doctoral candidate. And I'm here in regards to our community. As you know, Councilman Weezer, you grew up right around the area. That particular area of the MTA property was going to be used for an underground subway. However, that never came to our community. So first and foremost, by law, first right of refusal to the original property owners of that area need to be approached, which they have not. I'm a healthcare advocate. I work at the USC Keck School of Medicine, and I am here to advocate green space for that area. First and foremost, reach out to the person who owned the property. We would like green space, something that will add a continuity to the evergreen jogging path, which is right next door. And Councilman Weezer, you know as well as we all know, our community is suffering from exide, pollution, freeways. That is not conducive. We are not against housing. We are not against housing. We oppose that area right there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time is up. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. That concludes our public comment. And sorry, there's no rebuttal here, sir. You know that I'm sorry, you are taking our time. If we allow you, sir, do not speak. Please do not speak. Do not speak, please. I'm not being rude, but if we allow that, every person could feel like they could come up and start speaking, okay? And you know that. You've been here several times. You're an expediter. You know how this works. If you want to submit something for the record, you can submit it to the city clerk. Thank you. Thank you very much. I wanted to take into account some of the considerations proposed by our staff that they have not reviewed the large legal letter submitted on behalf of the applicant. And also, just a couple of hours ago, we received a long letter from our city attorney about this project as well. So in order for us to review those, give our planning staff time to review everything under consideration, we will continue this item. Now, I do want to state that this project has been in the works for quite some time, as many of you know, since 2006 when the MTA started looking at or was thinking of putting this property out to bid. And I want to correct some things which I think have been incorrectly stated in the public sphere. And number one is that this is not a NIMBY issue. This is not an issue where Boyle Heights does not want this type of housing. And in fact, Boyle Heights has its fair share of homeless, affordable housing compared to any other part of the district. Just the last few years, we've worked with East LA Community Corporation, AmCal, New Direction for Veterans, LA Family Housing Corp., The Whole Child. We're expanding Hoveness Inc. and their homeless services for youth in the area. And not too long ago, I submitted for motion to have 3 vacant sites in Boyle Heights be built with Measure HHH dollars at 850 Mission Road, 318 North Breed Street, and 249 North Chicago Street. So to call this a NIMBY issue and that this community does not want this type of housing is incorrect. This community has accepted this type of housing throughout the years, and it will continue to do so, and we will continue to advocate for this type of housing. In my opinion, aside from what's before us on the appeal and the environmental, it's just not the right location. And in my opinion, this has been attempted to be forced through without respect for the community. I sat on the MTA board when this was first proposed, and I was appalled at what was before us and what the MTA board voted on at that time, because for several months, this proposal was out in the community, and they were sold a certain type of project, and when it got to the board, it was a totally different type of project than what was talked to the community about. We were all surprised. I was on the MTA board at that time. At that time, the real estate division for the MTA, I was really disappointed with them that they pulled a fast one on the community, and I don't know to what extent or what role Community Friends played in that, but it was very disrespectful, and I've been in these types of situations plenty of times, either here in Plum, the number of downtown projects my office is involved with. I was on the school board when we built over 130 new schools, and I was involved in these types of things. I had never seen someone on staff lie so blatantly to the community and to the decision makers about what is the project. That started this project off on the wrong foot because that trust was not there. That trust was not there with me as the elected representative on the city council. It was not there with local residents who wanted to work with Community Friends to move forward. So this project has come a long way in terms of its outreach, in terms of where it is. But the fact of the matter is that when you start off in some of these projects, it first has to be based on trust. And I say all that to relate back to the idea that this is not about the type of housing that's being built. It's about process. It's about trust. And so I wanted to state that for the record because there's been a lot of discussion about this project in the public sphere, and it's not based at all on the type of housing that's being proposed. With that, I'll take the recommendation from our staff to continue this, and we will, yes, our city attorney.
Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. So this is a CEQA appeal, and we did get a last-minute letter from an attorney. We figure, glancing through it, we need about a week and no more to go through it and address those issues.
Madam City Attorney, let us decide how much time we give.
That's fine. I just wanted to let you know that's all we needed.
I am speaking. That is a legislative matter. And in fact, for the City Attorney's Office to submit a letter this late in the game directing us on legislative matters, we are asking for your legal input. What you have submitted and circulated to all council members speaks to legislation, not on legal matters. So we will discuss that later, and we will get to that. Thank you very much. With that, we will continue this item. We will talk to planning staff about how much time they need to review this and get back and reschedule this at some time. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
This is a noticed item. Do you have a date certain or?
Do not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will continue this item. Next item.
Councilman, you have items 4 and 6. Which is your preference?
4.
4, Councilman, this is an oral update by the Planning Department relative to the medical marijuana and non-medical marijuana uses in the city.
Good afternoon. Tom Rothman from the Planning Department.
Phyllis Nathanson, Planning Department.
We're here today to give the committee a status update on the work the Planning Department has been doing over the last few months regarding a land use ordinance for the cannabis, the legalization of cannabis, in light of its legalization on January 1 of next year. We are looking to release an ordinance early June of this year, and it will include certain zoning restrictions, buffering from certain uses, and we plan on going through the City Planning Commission and having a staff hearing early June, July, and working with other departments for a comprehensive update to the LAMC regarding the legalization of cannabis. I'm going to turn it over to Phyllis if you have any questions regarding the specifics of certain zones we're looking at or certain uses for our buffering requirements, or I can answer questions right now on the procedures.
If you could do that, just go over briefly on some of the requirements. Thank you.
Right. So Phyllis Nathanson, Planning Department. So we are looking at which zones would be appropriate for which license types. We're tying regulations to the license types that would be issued by the state. And as an example, we would probably consider, allowing or permitting the location of various cannabis-related businesses according to their underlying type. As an example, a retail license might be located where other retail businesses are permitted, and manufacturing license type might be permitted where other manufacturing activities would go. And then in terms of buffering from sensitive uses, we're considering the sensitive use types that were enumerated in Proposition D, and we are also considering, and we are developing the appropriate buffer distances from those, and we are also considering buffer distances between retail uses, cannabis-related retail uses. Oh, and further explanation, any cannabis-related use would also have to comply with all the normal zoning code regulations and normal building code regulations.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you very much for providing that overview. And as we continue to hold hearings on this issue, I want to ensure that we are having a thorough and transparent dialogue around the many moving parts of any ordinance we create to allow for sales of cannabis in the city of Los Angeles. And certainly the land use component of it is important, as is all the other various components that will allow us to effectively have a system that works for everyone, works for those who would like to purchase and those community members that live near any type of distribution center or whatever may exist. For good or bad, we have experience in this with Measure D and our earlier efforts as a city council to try and get a handle on illegal dispensaries over proliferating some of our communities. And even now, I think we have a long way to go to get a handle on illegal dispensaries. It takes too long to build a case, the due process requirements, et cetera. Just today in council, we had some members of my community in Bow Heights who have been attempting to shut down 2 dispensaries, non-compliant dispensaries, and it just takes too long to shut down those who are operating outside of a infrastructure that we have created. So as we move forward with the new ordinance, we want to keep all those items in balance. And with that, let me first ask that, well, let me say that it is evident that all parts of this industry are going to have land use implications, as I mentioned, and I want to ensure that we have adequate oversight on these issues. We have a standing committee on this council which is charged with the review of land use considerations that impact our neighborhoods and communities. As such, I am excited that the Plum Committee has this opportunity today to discuss relevant policies and implementation considerations, details that will no doubt be critical to the ongoing management of cannabis-related land use impacts. And before I go on with questions to staff, I'd like to ask my colleagues if at this time, do you have any questions or comments? I have some questions, but why not open up first to others? Mr. Price?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this is a issue that I think everyone is very concerned and interested in. We've been hearing rumblings out of Sacramento that the regimen will be similar to the alcohol, where you have a separation of manufacturing, distribution, retail. In my district, a great deal of industrial space still exists, and so I'm curious about the uses that would be permitted in that area, and interested in hearing more about the buffering. Plans that are being made, shielding sensitive spots. Personally, I think there's less need for buffering if it is in an industrial kind of a setting, but my mind is open on everything, and so I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are. I certainly want to get the thoughts of my colleagues as we continue to get thoughts from constituents, neighbors, and friends who all have thoughts and ideas about how this should roll out. So I'm interested in hearing, Mr. Chairman, everything, but especially about opportunities in manufacturing areas, kinds of activities you envision being permitted in those areas, and similarly, the kinds of buffering precautions that may be put into place.
We are still drafting the ordinance, so it has not been fully vetted yet, but we are looking, as Phyllis said earlier, at all of the cannabis-related activities that would be retail-related would be allowed where we allow retail today, and similar to manufacturing cannabis-related uses, processing and distribution and testing might be allowed where we allow those types of uses today, regardless of what's being done inside the building or the premises, and the buffering would apply to many of these uses. We haven't exactly pinned down how far the distancing should be from one another or from sensitive uses, but we are looking at all the uses that were called out in the Proposition D requirements for medical marijuana. We are using that as a template. We may go a little further. We might scale it back. We are looking at how much they would affect, these buffers would affect the proliferation or lack of throughout the whole city. So it's a very delicate balancing, and we're still working through it. But we are looking at all of the manufacturing zones for manufacturing type cannabis uses, commercial zones for the retail related cannabis uses.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, in terms of the regulations, what other types of businesses do we regulate with respect to something similar to this in terms of operating hours, neighborhood nuisances, if there are any, and commonly set conditions as this? What type of businesses do we operate like this?
Are you saying operating with certain development restrictions or distancing requirements? I mean, we do have a number of things that require conditional use permits in the city. We do have some uses that are allowed by right that have distancing requirements. Some things that come to mind are adult entertainment, which are allowed in limited parts of the city with distancing from each other and from sensitive uses. We sometimes apply alcohol conditions for certain businesses in certain parts of the city with distancing requirements.
So that's in the purview of the Planning Department, Building and Safety Department. Something like this, what do you anticipate is the role of the Planning Department? We set conditions in terms of land use issues. Where do you anticipate that will go? I mean, we're talking about a commission to oversee this, but aside from a commission within departments, do you feel the Planning Department should continue to play a role or not?
Well, I think the way we're framing the ordinance right now is that it's going to be a very black and white type of thing. We're going to specifically list the types of zones where these uses might be allowed or might not be allowed, with very specific distancing requirements to sort of take any type of subjective or discretion out of the Planning Department's realm. And we are planning on putting these regulations where the Prop D and the medical marijuana regulations are, that are in the public health and welfare section of the LAMC, and not into the zoning code.
Okay, so you would want these in the LA, not in the zoning code? Or
We would probably just, we are looking to replicate, or we are looking to follow the lead of where the medical marijuana rules exist today in the LAMC,
okay,
which are not in the zoning code. You're correct.
Okay. And with respect to Prop D, in your work on that, are there any particular land use concerns that we didn't cover in Prop D that you would now hope to have in that ordinance?
I might defer that question to the city attorney's office, because the planning department's role was very limited when it came to Prop D about, 6 or 7 years ago. We did provide some accessory services to them. We provide mapping, but as far as the land use regulations went for the Prop D medical marijuana portions, it was very limited to what the planning department did.
Great. Mr. Englander?
Yeah, and maybe I'll just shed some light from my perspective on this too, and I appreciate the dialogue and conversation on this. One of the major issues that I see is wrapping our arms around the rules and regulations from a planning use perspective as it relates to the safety and the public safety and welfare of the communities. And that seems to be a lot of the questions and concerns that I get back from certainly folks that I speak with, is not so much, how this is going to happen. And the only ones that are asking really how this is going to happen are the ones from the industry. But the residents and other businesses are really asking, well, how are we going to be protected? Because we know it's happening. And we have another mechanism beyond land use that I think makes a lot of sense to explore. And I will be putting in a motion I'm working on now, just to give you a heads up, from a public safety perspective, of looking at the issuance of a police permit. We have Commission Investigation Division, CID, under the Los Angeles Police Department and the Police Commission. And they have different criteria for rules and regulations, and in fact, monitor establishments like massage parlors, bars, valet or drivers. There's a plethora of different industries. There's about 30 different industries that fall under their purview, which makes sense. And then they get into different types of public safety conditions. Should or should they not have video? Should not. For example, one of the new ordinances that came in under the massage ordinance is they can't cover their front windows. Certain things that may or may not make sense for different industries. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and it's not something that's necessarily tied to land use or planning. And then you have another enforcement vehicle. And so I'm submitting a motion just to let you know, and we'd love your input on it as well from the planning department and even those in the public, that we'll be working with that motion through the Public Safety Committee and asking CID for their input. And what are some of those additional, beyond land use rules and regulations with a police permit that would allow us to have those kinds of rules and regulations that the public is asking for. And so maybe that's the piece I think that's been sort of missing, that people are looking at, well, what more can we do? What can we do to push the envelope on land use? We really can't. I mean, we're limited. And as we saw with Prop D, in fact, we didn't do that with Prop D. And I think in hindsight was a grave mistake. And because we didn't have that ability for revocation of a police permit, we didn't have, became very difficult, and an over proliferation of those because of that. In fact, many operators thought that all they needed to get was a business tax license, which you can get online in the comfort of your own home, and all it means is that you too can pay taxes. But there was, and they would say, "Oh, I'm licensed to do business because I have a business tax certificate." And there was, it's the first time, in fact, in any industry in the history of the city of Los Angeles where we said, no. In fact, you can't just get a business tax license for that business anymore, and it's now a red flag in the Office of Finance because we didn't have a police permit. And so I think that may make sense, maybe not, but at least we'll explore that and have that dialogue and the communication and get the information, the feedback from them. So I look forward as this discussion's going on to keep that in mind, that if you see certain things that don't fall into the box of land use, there possibly is a great place for that discussion to take place as well.
And let me just say that I agree with you, Mr. Englander, to the extent that there's got to be some additional oversight. I don't know what that is, but if we have a commission that oversees this and it's just a ministerial process that doesn't take in adequate public input, community input, this body's input to some extent, because when things come to our attention, we could better address them quickly, more swiftly. That oversight will be necessary. And
No
I don't know what the commission,
question.
the rules are going to be.
There's
I mean,
no
what
question.
exactly,
And I think this is so, this is beyond anything we've really ever done. And we don't know to what scale this, we know what it's limitless. So there's no question, I think, with having a special commission. And in fact, if we do move forward with a police permit, we would want them to weigh in and work with the commission on any rules and regulations. We're just talking about what that framework would be. Mm-hmm. But I think the idea of having that commission is going to be critically important, and because then they end up going in a lot of different directions and reporting to a lot of different committees and or regulatory or enforcement agencies. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, when we think about these types of uses in the past, the appeals, and if there are appeals, where do they go? All that needs to be worked out, but I think some adequate oversight, wherever that may be, is going to be very helpful. And when we have, we were speaking about medical marijuana in the city, a lot of that was planning department driven. But we want to see what's the best combination of oversight that we could provide overall. So with that, okay, are there any other questions or comments? All right, we'll go to public comment now. Tomer Graciane, Virgil Grant, Patricia McAllister. Welcome. Welcome.
Hi. My name is Tomer Graciani. I'm an edible manufacturer, and I'm here with the Southern California Coalition. First of all, I'd like to thank the members of the council for your changing attitude towards cannabis. It's really encouraging to see you guys try to embrace it. One of the things that I have not heard here in land use is the micro business license, which is something that allows a smaller person that does not have a lot of finance, possibly someone of minority or just someone from the community, to get into the cannabis industry and be able to do multiple things under one license. I think that is very important, especially when the council has made equity an important part of its plans. And in the same way, the craft industry, where people would be able to either cultivate or manufacture in their own houses. And finally, public consumption, a place where people can actually consume the cannabis that they're getting. And for example, restaurants and things like that should be able to be closer to each other, just like with alcohol. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Virgil Grant.
Good evening. My name is Virgil Grant. I've been an owner-operator since 2004, and just as Tomer said, public consumption has not been addressed. Also, we talk about police permits. we had a very difficult time just getting live scans from law enforcement, so to add a police permit into the fold would just be disastrous. Thank God for Proposition M. We're still talking about Prop D, but Prop M is what we need to look forward to. Prop D was toxic to the community. It harms a lot of owners and operators, so we need to look forward to that. And you're going in the right direction with the land use. Let's keep it open. Collectives being integrated with other businesses and things like that. Ridiculous things like karate schools, churches without a C of O, things of like that, we need to move off the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Trisha McAllister, Sherry Franklin, Russell Akiyama.
Yes, I'm against this medical marijuana. Dr. Francis Quest Welsing, very well-known psychiatrist, says that they're chemical laced. You're putting chemicals on them, and you have a price. You know what you want to make. City Council said they're going to profit so many $1 million a year. I'm not a fool. Anybody who smokes this stuff coming from you guys are crazy. Now, here's another thing. I don't want that stuff blowing in my face. I was walking across the street the other day, and before I hit the curb, the guy was 25 feet away, and it hit me in the face, that marijuana. You living next door to somebody smoking that crap, and it's going into your children's nasal passage. We don't want that crap on us, okay? So you're turning the state now into a drug dealing state. You've already turned into to raping children, passing SB 1322, where kids can prostitute now and be sodomized and raped and murdered and everything else. Get this crap out of here. And these illegal aliens, we want them out of this state. And I'm waiting on the president to send the tanks up in here to get you out of here.
Sherry Franklin, Russell Akiyama.
Good afternoon, Councilman and Councilman Price. How you doing? Here, Urban Design Center, Cherie Franklin, but here representing Think and Grow Lab. We're trying to make sure that we bring innovation to the cannabis industry and promote social enterprise. We want to make sure that perhaps we can look at greenhouses in our communities. We know that they're prohibited in the M zone, and we think that's a great way to be innovative and to cut down on the use of energy. When you're looking at land use, as Councilman Price said, we have a very integrated district in CD9, and we think there are other ways that you can support protecting the community through the use of neighborhood councils and other community advocates, as well as making sure that they have the proper licenses. But we would do harm if we don't allow our communities, such as CD9, that were impacted by AB, the downzoning of some of our communities, to participate fully in the cannabis industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Russell Akiyama.
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Russell Akiyama. I'm a resident of San Pedro. Thank you for offering this opportunity to speak on this. I want to talk about two things, water and opportunity. So obviously water is a really big issue facing our state. I personally am a business owner. I'm owner of a plant nursery and landscaping company. We have professional affiliations where we have been working for decades to be able to control things like runoff in different kinds of retail cultivation operations. And as we're kind of bumping up to what will be perhaps a deluge, of cultivators in our city, one of the things that I would like to bring up to this committee is runoff, because a lot of energy has been spent to ensure that there's regulations to make sure that other types of runoff and other agricultural practices in the city of LA are followed. And I would just like to remind everybody to see if we could do that for this too. And also to see if we can continue to make a space for minorities and women to be able to have equal opportunity in this industry as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That concludes public comment. Any other questions or comments from committee members? I've submitted a motion for this committee. Those are considerations for the planning department to develop. Obviously, we have to balance those recommendations along with Mr. Englander's idea today, and as well as what the Mr. Wesson's committee is doing as well. But those are considerations with respect to land use regulations. If we could have that and some considerations on that, and we'll schedule that in the near future. Okay, those items.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, I certainly support this motion. Just a question, though. On your first item, operating conditions and development standards specific to each cannabis use type, do you want to spell out what those uses, those use types are, manufacturing, retail, distribution?
Has the planning department come up with any type of general categorizations of the use type?
We've identified the license types that would be issued from the state, and we would correlate.
And those would be what? Manufacturing, distribution?
There's retail, cultivation, indoor, outdoor, 2 levels of manufacturing, distribution, laboratory testing.
I just thought it'd be helpful, Ms. Chair, if those were spelled
Oh,
out
and micro
specifically.
business, sorry, micro business.
Okay, there's like 6 of them that we've identified, which is, yes, distribution, cultivation.
Or including, and then...
Including those, yes. Yeah, if we could make that note and then motion. Thank you, Mr. Price, for that clarification. Okay.
Your first bullet says operating conditions and development standards specific to each cannabis use type. You mean land use for cannabis, or just each different type of cannabis strain? I'm just kidding. Okay, no. Seeing if you're still awake.
Okay, any other questions or comments? We'll move this item and direct planning department on this motion, and we'll be back on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
With no objection. Any next item, Mr. Mejia?
Next item, Councilman, is item 6, which is a general plan amendment and amendments to the various community plans and specific plans for LAX. And this is for the LAX Landslide Access Modernization Program, LAMP.
Welcome, staff.
Council members, my name is Jonathan Hershey. I represent the Department of City Planning. I'm joined here at the table by 2 members of representing the Los Angeles World Airports. Given the scale and scope of the project, I'm going to ask that LAWA's staff provide you with an overview of the comprehensive nature of what this is entailing, and then following their brief presentation, I will then go over with you the number of discretionary actions that are necessary in order to make this project a reality.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here. My name is Samantha Bricker. I'm Deputy Executive Director at LAX. Just wanted to provide a brief overview of the Landside Access Modernization Program. Some of you have been briefed on the program, but we wanted to provide an overview of the project elements and the work that has been done to get us to this point in time. No surprise, traffic congestion in the central terminal area has gotten worse. It can take an hour to get around the horseshoe. There's no direct access to the regional rail system and no mass transit options into the CTA. The goal of this project is to improve access to LAX and relieve congestion, provide a direct connection to Metro Rail, which does not exist today, alleviate the 23 rental car agencies that are scattered throughout the neighborhoods around the airport and consolidate them into one consolidated rental car facility. We are promoting sustainability at LAX through this project. We have overall design guidelines which will inform our contractors on how to build the project. And perhaps most importantly, the goal is to actually maintain airport operations during construction of this $5 billion project. The map here gives an overview as to where all of these project elements are located. As you can see, there are several elements within the central terminal area, but we also go off campus and have several facilities in about a 2-mile stretch away from LAX. Starting briefly with on the right side of the screen, you'll see the consolidated rental car facility near the 405 freeway. Then we move to the ITF, the Intermodal Transportation Facility East, which is also connected to Metro's proposed AMC station. That will connect up to the Crenshaw and Green lines. We have an ITF West facility, Intermodal Transportation Facility near Sepulveda. And then we have 3 stations within the central terminal area. So we have 3 stations at each of those facilities outside of the CTA and 3 stations in the CTA, all linked by an automated people mover. The automated people mover is about 2.25 miles. It is fully elevated and runs every 2.5 minutes, 24/7, and will be free to users. It will be reliable, time certain transport into the airport. In fact, to go from the Conrack all the way into the CTA is 9 minutes. So even if you have to stop at all the stations, it'll be 9 minutes, and it'll bring certainty to our users to get into the central terminal area. As I mentioned before, the consolidated rental car will consolidate all of those 23 facilities into one location. It will have access to one of the APM stations and will take people directly into the central terminal area. It removes rental car shuttles from the CTA, which is one of the main contributors to the congestion we have in the central terminal area, and removes those shuttles from local roadways. The 2 intermodal transportation facilities are environmentally cleared at having about 8,000 spaces each. The idea would be to direct people away from the central terminal area and to these facilities so that we are not further congesting the central terminal area. It will provide intermodal transportation options. We can have Uber and Lyft and various shuttles. There will also be electric charging stations and bike facilities to make them true intermodal transportation facilities. And then as part of all of this, we are improving about 56 miles of roadway in and around LAX, mostly going to these new facilities, but we're doing extensive traffic lane and off-ramp and on-ramp freeway improvements, bicycle and pedestrian improvements, and definitely improvements into the CTA to facilitate access into the central terminal area. We also are going to have a series of walkway systems connecting the APM to the terminals. We are implementing new vertical cores, which will be elevators and escalators to get people from the APM into the terminals directly. There will be a maintenance and storage facility as part of the APM. And then we also have amendments and plans regulating land use, which the planning folks will talk about. As I mentioned, we have a seamless connection at our ITF East facility with Metro. Right now, there's no regional transit into the airport. This will change that. We have about 50,000 employees who work at LAX, and this will be the first time that they have access to a regional transit system. It will give them a viable alternative to getting to work, as well as for the passengers who may choose to take the train. There are many operational benefits associated with this project. Obviously reduces congestion. It actually improves traffic at 30 intersections surrounding the airport. We'll have that direct connection to LA Metro. We have a very aggressive sustainability program as part of this project, and we also are implementing a traffic demand management program, which will encourage alternate uses to the airport, such as employee shuttles, carpools, and van pools, in order to fully mitigate all of the impacts of the project.
As part of phase 2, we looked at the residual land that would be available to the airport once the project is completed. And we included 900,000 square feet of potential related development that would help support the airport. It could be an opportunity to provide retail, restaurant, entertainment amenities. And we did this at a program level in EIR, which would require us, because we don't have definitive plans at this point, we would come back to do subsequent environmental review. But that is also reflected in the LAX specific plan. We've, again, this is an opportunity to create a new front door for the airport. Urban design, architecture, the public realm, streetscape, and sustainability are very important to creating a world-class airport. And so we did create a robust set of urban design guidelines, streetscape plan, and again, a commitment to sustainability that now would be requirements of the project, and that would also be incorporated into the LAX specific plan. As part of the sustainability program, we looked at Cal Green Tier 1, Tier 2 checklists. We looked at LEED, and rather than just committing to a goal and then figuring out how to implement it after the fact, we really worked with the project planners to come up with strategies to make sure that we could surely achieve LEED Silver at a minimum in the CONRAC. We looked at how we could incorporate EV chargers in the new intermodal transportation facility than in the CONRAC, the consolidated rental car facility. We looked at opportunities for solar across all resource areas, including Purple Pipe, and those are going to be requirements for the project moving forward. Again, we are very proud that we are committed to achieving the highest levels of sustainability, and it is included in the environmental impact report. It reflects what Samantha Bricker had just talked about, all the operational benefits, and that is, we're really proud of our sustainability program incorporated into the plan. We've had a robust and long CEQA process. We started in 2015 with the notice of preparation, and we have gone through the draft EIR process. We received only 75 comment letters for a project of this magnitude. We've had our EIR certified by our board in March. We just went through a joint hearing on March 23rd with our Board of Airport Commissioners and the City Planning Commission, where we achieved unanimous approval at those hearings. And we've done a tremendous amount of public outreach. We've met with over 150 community, civic, governmental agency groups, and we're very proud of the support that we've received. We have just a sample of some of the supporters, and we know that there are some today. And so we really appreciate your time and your support for plan amendments that are before you.
Okay, so Jonathan Hershey, Department of City Planning. Due to the size and scope of this project, there are a number of aspects to it which aren't presently accommodated within either the existing LAX plan or the LAX specific plan. So in order to accomplish this project, there are a number of entitlements that are required to make all of this happen. Notably, we're going to be asking for general plan amendments to the LAX plan itself, to the Westchester Playa del Rey plan, and the mobility plan. So with the LAX plan, we're talking about map amendments to change the boundary of the plan itself. The LAX plan is unique in that it follows the boundary of the properties owned and operated by LAX. And associated with that, the LAX specific plan, which also follows the boundaries of what is being proposed. The current LAX plan does not incorporate all of the properties that are proposed for development under this LAX LAMP project. And so we need to change that boundary. Because the boundary shares its border with the Westchester Playa del Rey Community Plan, that means a modification to that boundary is also necessary. So that's part of what's being requested. In addition, there are a number of text changes to the plan text itself. Largely, these are to clarify the different aspirational goals of how future operation and development of LAX would be done. It also removes some extraneous other projects that were at one time contemplated to be pursued, but are no longer being pursued now that the LAX LAMP project is much more crystallized than a number of various alternatives were in the past. One of the significant changes to the LX plan is the implementation of a new land use sub-area. It's the airport landside support sub-area. Lisa Trifoletti alluded to before, the project includes several parcels that once LAMP is completed is not going to be directly related to LAX. However, these properties are in the interim required to facilitate construction of the project. Once LAMP has been completed, these properties are no longer necessary for the continuation or the construction of the phased development for LAMP. And so as a part of the LAMP project, these properties are being designated as airport landside support. And under the plan, they would be developed with a total of approximately 900,000 square feet of additional uses, and the regulation of those uses and the development of those sites are going to be found in the specific plan. I'll detail some of those in just a second. Okay, so I've already talked about some of the general plan amendments for LAX and the Westchester Community Plan, and now the mobility plan. So as a part of the project, LAX and LAWA will be reconfiguring a number of the roadways in the immediate area, as well as creating some new streets to help facilitate circulation around the LAX area. And this will be completed in 2 phases. The first phase, which would include the automated people mover, the CONRAC 2 ITF facilities, the maintenance and storage facility, new roadways and driveways would be created to help promote and facilitate circulation to those facilities. In phase 2, a significant number of other roadway improvements would be made, largely centering around Century and Sepulveda Boulevard. And that would come after the initial phase. So a large part of this component is really untangling a lot of the different ways people are able to both access LAX and to actually get by LAX without being hampered by the normal traffic for visitors arriving and departing from LAX. Now, we are asking for specific plan amendments to the existing LAX specific plan. And again, not just boundary changes to follow the LAMP project, but to also clarify and enhance and make additions to the regulations for the construction of new facilities within the LAX area. This also includes some clarification as to the responsibilities of LAWA to the surrounding area, and also removes some references to other documents that are not comfortably located within land use documents such as the specific plan. So in summary, for these specific plan amendments, for projects that are going to be located in the airport landside support area, projects will be required to come to the Department of City Planning for review. Other projects that are done over the course of LAMP and LAX facilities will largely obtain their review and approvals through the executive director for LAX. And so many of those would simply be reviewed for conformance against the regulations of the specific plan and the design guidelines and the other documents that LAWA is required to comply with for development of LAX, including documents issued or approved through the FAA. The specific plan would modify language and clarify where and under what circumstances the trip cap applies and doesn't apply. There will be amendments that remove references to a parking cap because the number of parking spaces does not drive the number of people who arrive or depart from LAX. It's really rather tied to the ability of LAX to provide services to the surrounding area. And so limiting LAX to providing a number of parking spaces actually hampers their ability to be able to provide the necessary parking spaces for visitors either arriving or departing from LAX. We've included a new section for alcohol use authorization. Presently, LAX is required to obtain a conditional use approval through the Department of City Planning whenever they want to have an establishment within LAX offer alcohol. Over the last several years, this has been accomplished through a master conditional use. But every time they want to have another vendor within LAX offer alcoholic beverages, they have to come to the Department of City Planning and require plan approval authorization in order to do that. Well, in discussions with LAX, the Chief Zoning Administrator, and the Department of City Planning, we kind of arrived at the conclusion that if a facility that wanted to serve and sell alcohol were located in so-called sterile areas behind the TSA security checkpoint, these were not typical establishments that the Department of City Planning felt the need to regulate under the conditional use process. And so we included a new authorization section in there where the executive director for LAWA would be able to communicate and authorize directly with the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control to go ahead and facilitate the issuance of alcohol licenses without the need of coming back to the Department of City Planning. Now, in those cases where a facility is publicly accessible to an individual who does not have an airline ticket, those cases would still come to the Department of City Planning for a typical conditional use for alcohol. The LX specific plan also includes new language regulating development for the airport landside support sub-area. I kind of alluded to those before. They also include language that requires explicit compliance with a newly approved LAX sign district ordinance, new language for compliance with applicable streetscape plans. It's also required compliance and conformity with new design guidelines for the construction of all of the LAX facilities, both with regard to LAMP and future LAX facilities. These guidelines touch on things like site design, architecture, streetscape, landscape, and sustainability. Finally, a number of sections that were directly incorporated within the specific plan have been moved to the appendix. It just makes it for easier reference and applicability as we're looking at these things. It makes the whole process easier to administrate. These sections include the mitigation, monitoring, and reporting section, requirements for the annual traffic generation reports and annual aviation activity analysis reports. Now, finally, this project requires several zone changes, both within the LAX plan and the Westchester Playa del Rey community plan. These are really just to recognize that certain properties that are now LAWA owned and incorporated as part of LAMP are appropriately zoned LAX, and then a property that was or is presently in the LAX plan that is no longer going to be a part of this project, that it's removed, it would lose its LAX designation, and they were requesting that it be zoned C22, which is in substantial conformity with the surrounding properties in the area. So that's a broad overview of the discretionary actions that we're requesting that you're able to make today. And so I've got a list of recommendations for you if you'd like me to read through them. We're requesting that you adopt the staff report as this committee's report, that you approve and recommend that the City Council adopt the proposed amendments to the LAX plan shown as Exhibits B and D as part of the general plan of the City of Los Angeles, approve and recommend that City Council adopt the proposed amendments to the Westchester Playa del Rey Community Plan shown as Exhibits C and D as part of the general plan of the City of Los Angeles, approve and recommend that the City Council adopt the proposed street designation amendments to the circulation system map of Mobility 2035 as shown in Exhibit E, as part of the general plan of the City of Los Angeles. We recommend that the City Council dismiss the request to amend the bicycle lane network map of Mobility Plan 2035 as part of the general plan of the City of Los Angeles. And let me just explain. This was a request originally made by LAWA. On further review, it was determined that request was not necessary. So we would recommend that you dismiss that request. We request that you approve and recommend that City Council adopt the proposed amendments to the LAX specific plan shown in Exhibit F, that you approve and recommend that City Council approve various zone changes from R31, C21, C22, and M21 to the LAX zone, and various zone changes from the LAX zone to the C22 zone, as shown in Exhibits D and G. Adopt and recommend that City Council adopt the attached findings. That you approve and recommend that City Council adopt the proposed resolution shown in Exhibit I, amending the general plan, and that you find that the Environmental Impact Report, ENV 2016-3369, EIR, and State Clearinghouse number 2015-021014, Exhibit J, has been reviewed and considered in the determination in approving the proposed amendments, and recommend that City Council consider the environmental effects of the proposed project as described in the EIR, and affirm that the EIR prepared for the Los Angeles International Airport Landside Access Modernization Program was prepared in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act and reflects the independent judgment of the lead agency. Now that was a mouthful.
Yes.
And if you need for me to clarify or expand on anything, I remain at your disposal.
Now, I missed your second sentence, so can you start over, please?
Of course.
No, just kidding. We'll incorporate that as a motion. We'll have that on the table. That motion has been made to have that be the motion from this committee. And anything else from the panel? We will move on to public comment. No? Okay. So going to public comment. Fernando Morales from Senator Ben Allen's office. Welcome, sir.
Hi, thank you, Chair. Thank you. I wanted to speak on behalf of Senator Allen and the residents of the 26th Senate District that use LAX on a regular basis and experience the impacts during the day. And as we all know, the air transportation demand and traffic have both grown in LAX and will continue to do so, as it's now the second busiest airport in the nation. And as well as a significant creator of jobs and economic opportunity in Southern California. However, every passenger has to enter through the roadway passing Terminal 1, and this leads to an incredible amount of traffic congestion and emissions. The current plan is one that the Center is very excited to support, as it will provide multiple access points, it will reduce vehicle congestion and lower emissions. He respectfully urges the committee to support the plan. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. David Gonzalez, Daniel Tron, Daniel Friedman, and Christine Davis.
Good afternoon. I'm David Gonzalez with VICA, the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, representing more than 400 businesses in the San Fernando Valley and throughout Los Angeles. VICA strongly supports the LAX Landside Access Modernization Program, which will improve the airport experience for travelers, employees, and residents. The LAMP project will reduce traffic and improve air quality around LAX by helping ensure that airport access is convenient, affordable, and reliable through multiple modes of transportation. The proposed automated people mover, intermodal transportation facilities, consolidated rental car center, and direct connection to Metro will strengthen and promote economic growth throughout Southern California. Local businesses rely on LAX to provide a connection to domestic and foreign markets. VICA urges the committee to join with local businesses and support the LAX LAMP project. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Tron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Daniel Tran, Regional Planner. I'm here to represent Naresh Matia, Director of Transportation Planning at the Southern California Association of Governments. So I'm here today on behalf of SCAG to express my support for the LAMP project. LAMP is fully integrated into the adopted 2016 Regional Transportation Plan, as well as the Sustainable Community Strategies. Over the past few years, we have worked extensively with staff from Los Angeles World Airports as part of an interagency coordination task force put together by LAWA with staff from SCAG, Metro, LODOT, and Caltrans. Through the numerous coordination meetings, we made sure the traffic model developed for the LAMP EIR had buy-in from all agencies involved and was consistent with SCAG's RTP SES. SCAG supports the LAMP project because it accomplishes multiple objectives, including creating thousands of jobs for people in Los Angeles County, significantly reducing congestion in and around the airport, thus reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So I urge you to support this important project for the city of LA and the entire Southern California region. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Daniel Friedman, Christine Davis, Ron Miller.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Daniel Friedman with Jeffrey Mangels, Butler Mitchell, here on behalf of the parking spot. As you know, the parking spot provides parking solutions for Angelinos who want to drive to the airport and then get aggregated into a shuttle and get taken to their terminal. We're here really to congratulate LAWA, congratulate the Board of Airport Commissioners and the city for bringing the airport into the 21st century. It's a fantastic project. We did have some concerns, which we've talked about initially with staff, and we continue to engage in a further conversation about the impacts related to 98th Street. There will be substantially more action on 98th Street, which is something we'll be dealing with moving forward, as well as an issue about who gets in and who gets out of the central terminal. We think there will have to be a dialogue moving forward about how, we understand the rental cars will be out, but what other shuttles, what other users will no longer be allowed into the central terminal. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Christine Davis, Ron Miller.
Good afternoon. My name is Christina Davis, and I'm the president and CEO of the LAX Coastal Chamber of Commerce, and we represent 500 businesses in the communities of Westchester, Playa del Rey, Playa Vista, and Marina del Rey. We are the neighbors to the north. I'm here today to support the Landside Access Modernization Program. We've been following the modernization of LAX and are incredibly supportive of the efforts, but this is really what we consider the most pivotal project of the modernization of our third busiest airport, LAX. This will also create thousands of well-paying jobs for our community and bolster economic development. This project will benefit the business community that we represent and the adjacent communities. This project is a win-win for the city of Los Angeles, and we urge you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Miller, Kobe King, Marcelo Vala.
Just so you know, I offered to let Kobe go ahead of me, but he didn't want to. Good afternoon. The LA Orange County Building Trades is a skilled, trained workforce in the city of Los Angeles, whether we're building bridges, museums, affordable housing, hotels, and we're out there doing billions of dollars worth of work at the airport, and we want to build this gateway to the airport to make it more efficient, to make it a world-class airport, and we want to get it done before the Olympics come. So let's make the changes to the general plans and let's get on with it. Thank you.
Kobe King, Marcelo Avala.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. Marcella Vavala with the Los Angeles Conservancy. For well over a year, the Conservancy has been working closely with WALA staff to address a number of issues and potential impacts to historic resources at LAX. We were able to work collaboratively toward a viable solution that meets both LAWA and preservation objectives, and we really appreciate that LAWA staff have listened and made some significant changes to the project and implemented important planning tools for the future. We are especially pleased to find common ground and offer our support for the LAMP project in EIR. Thank you.
Kobe King, you, Charles Bassett, and Trisha Keane from CD11.
Mr. Chairman, is it possible, as the appellant, to get 2 minutes?
Can you repeat that, please?
As I'm representing El Segundo, we're the appellant. Could I get 2 minutes, possibly?
Oh, sure. You're the appellant. I didn't know there's appellant of record. Yes, you're entitled to 5. So
I probably don't need more than 2 or so.
That's fine. That's
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
There's no appeal on this.
There's no appeal on this?
No.
I was confused
sir.
about that. Okay. So
Okay.
you're entitled to 1 minute,
I will
sir.
take my 1 minute then.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right.
Kobe King,
Good try,
representing...
though. That was pretty good.
Representing the city of El Segundo. When it comes to, and I want to thank Ron Miller for offering me his spot. When it comes to customer experience, especially the experience of arriving at or leaving the airport by car, LAX, one of the worst major airports in the United States. That's why if travelers have a choice between going to LAX and going to other local airports such as Burbank, Long Beach, John Wayne, he'll often choose one of the other airports. LAX is not worth the hassle. But the LAMP project will go a long way to changing this. The City of El Segundo agrees that LAMP will improve the customer experience by relieving gridlock in the CTA, thereby attracting choice travelers back to LAX. The problem with this is that by attracting growth, LAX has not studied that growth. The City of El Segundo believes that that growth should have been studied. And while we acknowledge that the proximity to LAX does provide certain economic benefits, the lack of attention to this growth is a problem with the EIR, and we encourage you to send it back for correction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome. You are Charles
Bassett.
Welcome.
Yes. So, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Charles Bassett, Board Chairman for the LX Coastal Chamber of Commerce and a Senior Executive with L&R Group of Companies. L&R has had the fortune of owning property and operating Wally Park at LAX for more than 25 years. We look forward to the positive impact the LAMP project will have on our future business. I am honored to be here to show my support for the LAX Landside Access Modernization Program, a project I feel will greatly enhance the travel experience for passengers using the airport. Congratulations to the City of Los Angeles and to the LAX team here today for the vision and dedication in putting this project together and making it a soon-to-be reality. We are excited to see the transformation of LAX into a world-class airport and look forward to working with the airport team to make this transformation a great success. Thank you.
Before you go on, we have one other card. No one responded. It's you. Somebody listed the card as you. Nobody here? Okay. Trisha Keane, CD 11.
Good afternoon. Trisha Keane, Director of Land Use and Planning for Council District 11. The project before you today is truly a milestone in the transformation of LAX. As I think you could tell from the detailed presentation, LAMP is the culmination of many years of work, hours of outreach, and a lot of coordination between LAWA and the community, the planning department, other agencies, and of course, our office. As you may know, the elements that comprise LAMP have been a high priority for the councilman since he took office. From reducing traffic in the central terminal area, to creating multimodal transportation hubs, to finally linking transit to the airport with the automated people mover, LAMP is the critical step in getting the infrastructure and improvements that I think we all agree we need to modernize the airport and to ensure that the airport can continue to be a good neighbor. I'm here to express the council member's strong support for the project. He's very eager to see the elements of LAMP move forward. In order to make that happen, the councilman is respectfully requesting that you support the project that is before you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you signed up as you today? You signed up under different cards.
Yes, it's under fuck you, so yes, that's
okay.
it.
If you could proceed, please.
Yes, so I agree with my sister city of El Segundo. The EIR is defectively a piece of shit. Yes, I agree. Go use Burbank Airport, Ontario Airport, or John Wayne. Do not use the defective LAX. LAX is garbage. It's been garbage for 35 years. The planes come in, the traffic comes in, nobody gets the fuck out until 2-3 hours later. The airport needs to be torn down and needs to be turned into a golf course. Yes, give up on LAX, tear it down for good, shut it down, and give all the money to Burbank, because the city of LA will not get the Olympics. This city's a piece of shit. Thank you.
For those of you wondering, he's a usual character, and we've been advised that the public comment, people can express themselves in any way they wish. Unfortunately, some people decide to make a fool of themselves when they come up here. But other than that, that concludes public comment, and we will now, did somebody else submit a card? What's your name? If you want to come up and speak, come on, and it wasn't in my pile.
Mickey Jackson with the Coalition to Preserve Los Angeles. The city has for months been working on one of the most important projects in the city, that is writing a new general plan, but it is being done behind closed doors. Citizens are shut out. Even more dismaying, the doors are not quite closed. There are a select few who are allowed in. At both the neighborhood council meeting and last Saturday's plan check meeting, a paid consultant for developers, such as the Millennial Project, made it known that she and a few others are working behind these closed doors. She is working in the open space work group of the general plan and is listed as an open space expert. City planner for the general plan, Michelle Levy, when asked at that meeting who else is on that committee, said she could not tell the public who is on that work group. That's on record. So there could be legal issues here, I don't know. Transparency, 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 accountability. Open these meetings up, open up these doors now.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from committee members? Mr. Price?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate this presentation. This is exciting to see that we're moving in this direction with the LAMP. I recall my days on the Inglewood Council in the early 90s, and this was certainly a topic that kept coming up. One of the issues that was raised, and I think it was alluded to by someone who spoke from El Segundo, Westchester, Playa Del Rey always had issues about traffic, about number of flights, et cetera. And I thought at one point there was a cap on the number of flights or number of passengers at LAX, 60 million or something like that. Is there any kind of cap on the number of passengers?
Council member, there is no such cap on the number of passenger activities. I think folks from the 2004 master plan remembered that looked at 78.9 million annual passengers as the potential growth. But when we now, that was done in 2004.
Well, where are we now in terms of passengers?
We're around 81 million annual passengers. And when we look at the forecasts for the airport, we relied on the FAA future forecasts, which are consistent with the Southern California Association of Governments forecasts. It projects, growth going up to around 95 million annual passengers by 2030.
Okay. The roadway improvements was interesting. You indicate it's going to be in 2 phases. When? I mean, what's the timing on that?
So the majority of the improvements will be done as part of the initial phases of the project. In fact, we're getting started on some of them now. Things that we can do separately that were in the works to get ready for them. And then once we get federal approval, we will start with those initial improvements because those actually help us to lay the groundwork for the facilities that'll come later. So we want to get those roads in as soon as possible. They'll both be new roads as well as reconstruction of roads. We have lane widenings, for example, on Century. We have the eastbound Century will be widened by 1 lane. So those will all take place. The only improvements
Some of that's occurring now, isn't it? Some of that.
Inglewood is actually doing physical improvements on Century, and we've been partnering with them. The bulk of our roadway improvements will start next year, and we are hoping to get a lot of those done early in the project to have alternatives for people to get to the airport during construction.
This landside support is kind of interesting. 900,000 square feet of development space, potential development. Again, any idea when that's going to happen? 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? I mean, I guess there's a short and long-term plan for that.
So most of that will be based on what is left after LAMP is complete. So we're buying properties to allow us to do the ITF West, for example, or to do the Conrack. Whatever space is not used for those facilities will then be able to be used for this joint development in the future. So that will have to probably wait until the end of the project because during
Again, we're talking about 5 years out? What's the
probably
end of the project?
2024 until we have a really good idea because we have to really get the contractors on board and their final design will determine how much of that space we need.
Okay. And speaking of space, what's going to happen to the theme building and the old tower? In the renderings, I didn't see the old tower. Is that going to be demolished along with those offices? What's
No,
going to happen to that?
They will be preserved. The theme building, as you heard from the Conservancy, we worked very closely with them during this process. We are not physically touching the theme building. There are visual impacts to it because now the people mover will be going next to it. So as part of our guidelines and part of our environmental document, we have very specific constraints on how close you can get to the theme building, how far apart the columns need to be built to preserve those visual view sheds, and we have specific design guidelines on what that people mover needs to look like next to the theme building to not take away from it. So we've worked
But is
very
the plan,
closely
though,
on
for
that.
the theme building to be a restaurant again, or just an observation area, or just
They're
open
looking
space?
to have a public use for that theme building, and so they're actually looking at some alternatives now. Some talk about perhaps doing an RFP to go out and seeing what would be feasible there. But we are moving the USO, which is currently located in one of the facilities that we need for the APM. We're moving them into the theme building, so we hope to have a real use of that theme building, and we're actually going to be preserving space around the ground floor to make sure people have access to it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I certainly support the proposal, and I'm excited to see this moving forward. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Price. Any other questions or comments? Well, first off, congratulations. I know this is a lot of work, and also to CD11 and Councilmember Bonna's office for providing some input and helping shepherd this along as well. One edit to the comments made by our planning department and the motion we incorporated, which is on the area of amending the LAX specific plan as part of the general plan of the city. We just need to add some language that we will instruct the city attorney to prepare and review the ordinance as to form and legality. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Janglander?
Yeah, out of all the first of all, this is a dream, right? So hopefully we'll see it all come into fruition in our lifetime, and I know we'll see it in phases, but it's phenomenal. And with the exception of the one person I think who spoke on behalf of El Segundo, so I'll have to ask Kobe. I won't ask you to come back up, but you're still a resident of LA, right? Okay, so as a resident, I'm sure you support it wholeheartedly, but I know on behalf of your client you had some concerns. So just want to get that on the record because I know you've been Mr. Valley Airport guy for a long time and supportive of LAWA, so this is great. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, with that, we'll move the motion on the table. Any objections? No objections, so ordered. Thank you. All right. So that moves us to public comment. Patricia McAllister, Nikki Jackson, and Mr. Yu. Okay. Thank you. Good meeting, brother. Trisha McAllister not here? Okay. But Mickey Jackson?
Mickey got upset.
Okay. Mr. Yu?
Okay. So I saw the Jose Huizar attack the city attorney. Yes. The poor city attorney was verbally lashed by the Jose Huizar of Zacatecas, Mexico. So why is this happening? It's because Jose Huizar needs an attorney, and you need outside counsel now because the city attorney is conflicted. Yes, Jose Huizar passed the bar exam. Well, after he failed, you can see that on YouTube. But on his second attempt, he passed. And he knows that what you did, the city attorney, is with my friend here. You filed a criminal charge to gain an unfair advantage in a civil case, and he knows that's fucked up. So, for once I agree, Jose Huizar, you're right. Get a new set of attorneys. And finally, to PDQ. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other items on the agenda? Ms.
No,
Mejia?
sir.
Thank you. That concludes this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.